Hey guys, here's part two. um, I did the epics yesterday. I'm releasing this on Saturday. But yeah, just the legendary champs that really, I think, may get overlooked, may not get nearly as much support. Um, we only got 13, but I want to go at length about it. So first up is Draco Morph. I still have this Draco, and basically uh, my clan boss stuff. Really, like I haven't really touched too much on him. Just a really good champ. I have him crit capped, some really solid crit damage. He's 5-star blessed. He's empowered to 4. My take on empowerment is that if you can't take him up to 2 or you can't take him up to 4, then don't do it. Like legit 2s and 4s are great because you get the speed bonus and you get the crit damage. If taking them up to 1 doesn't really amount to too much. Taking them up to 3, yay, it's closer to 4. But hang on to it. We have space, we have storage. Don't do anything dumb. Because with another Draco morph, you could have a lot of fun. So what makes Draco so much fun? You don't even have a relic. I am running out of stones, so I've been trying to do my best of not shifting too much, but that's fine. I would put a Malefic Talon. It's more crit damage. You could put in the Arachne Elixir. I don't have an additional one, so bear with me. I will go to equipped. You could put Cat's Gaze. You know, you could put Preserved Aberration. Just like he's putting out poison, and this may be actually really solid because you get that accuracy boost with attack. You could put Arachne Elixir out there. This would do a shit ton of damage because you're going to build your Draco Morph with a lot of attack and accuracy and crit damage, and then lean into speed as well. So there's a bunch of stuff. Like Dracomorph's really stat hungry, but what's really nice is that he's placing a weaken and decreased defense. You don't need accuracy on this, so that is fine, perfect. You could build him with no accuracy if you want, but these poisons ain't gonna proc. And I mean, like a 4-time potential poison. Love it. Love it. For 3 turns. That's a lot of poison. Just be careful if that debuff bar is filled and you can't put out any more debuffs, you got the culprit right here. The attack here is really neat because any surplus damage goes on to someone else. Like, awesome, and it's tripled. Like, this just smacks. So, a whole lot of fun you could have here. Draco Morph is really old, but still really good. I absolutely love Draco Morph. I leaned into him so much when I first started off. Yeah, he fell off, but that's fine. He can work with goddamn the lizard man. I am gonna cheat here. I'm drawing a blank here. Teox. With all those debuffs out there, you know, like this just goes nutty. So you could have a lot of fun. You know, you could have him in Relentless, which is a really good set. You could have I have mine in Accuracy and Cruel, and I think that's a good enough. That's good enough. He just does a lot of damage. So if you have him, you know what's going on. So I'm glad you got him. Here, Foley. Foley really tapered off for me. Like, as I said in my first one, a lot of this is going to be, a lot of these champs may have their stuff stolen or repurposed elsewhere, uh, but that's fine. Some of them are mules, but they still serve a purpose. And predominantly, Foley has gone in and out of many of my teams. And uh, I know that Ash had talked about him recently and kind of hyped him up, which he deserves it. He was like one of the first ones that had block revive on his skill set. Like this was really really good. So you crank him up with a boatload of attack, some crit damage, crit rate, and you basically just bring him into arena just this way they can't be revived. Like hella awesome. Have somebody with decreased defense ahead of him, and he goes nuts. Uh, you could even bring him in a Fire Knight just because the 4 times at random. If you're really having a hard time with the shields, but be warned, this dude is not gonna last long. Like basically one hit, maybe 2 hits, and he's gone. He's just really really weak. So be mindful of that. Uh, a 1/4% of putting out a decreased defense, cool. Like just a really good dude, can't get frozen, can't get stunned, sleep or provoked. Like, cool, man. On a 3 turn, so basically he's not gonna get that. I think that's neat. Or, you just have somebody to do that first and then do it again. Okay. But either way, he's being utilized for this AoE skill that just does a boatload of damage. I don't even have him blessed, and he still smacks. Kaimar, if you were watching my Twitch stream earlier, I put a stun set on him just to finish off a faction war level. Uh, Really, the big thing with him, don't waste your books. You really just want to get this A3 up and running. It can't be cooldown, but that's fine. He he's a resetter. He adds a fifth of a turn meter onto you, and that gets you far, man. When it comes down to Iron Twins or Spider or Phantom Shogun, like this dude could really really help you out just by having that reset, even just once. That's really solid. Even in drawing a blank here, not Phantom Shogun, but the other one, Sand Devil, tossing a sleep out there, really really smooth, as well as taking away buffs. Like, okay, cool. Kymar, when I first started off, was like the primo guy because of it, because of the arena speed, as well as just this and Madame Saris, like just to strip everything. Like they were they were so hard to get around, but you know they've fallen off, and I think whenever there's a new champ that does elements of this, like these old champs they still have a kicking chance. They get forgotten about because there's a new shiny, but don't sleep on him. I mean, he has a poison if it's critical, so you want to crit cap him. You want to make sure he goes stupid fast and stupid accurate. Like he's in the PvE build for me, and this is the sunset that I've stolen off of others. But have him go fast, be accurate, strip, remove, and then basically go again and reset. That's what he does. That's what he's good at, and that's why he's utilized. So if you get him, congratulations. He's really really good. Tomb Lord, not fully built. Um, the big thing with him, like as I said about Venom Mage and the other one, as well as oh god, the cat Akuntum. Poison is slowly but surely coming around again. We have Xenomorph, we got Ezio. Like having poisons as a debuff really sneaks up on you, especially if you have a Nell. Like that combination is is wild. So here, the A3 doesn't work against bosses, but against enemies, against other dudes, this could really help. He's basically decreasing turn meter as long as they've been hit and they have half life. So he really takes into that, and then he tosses a decrease attack, and then he also has a chance of placing decreased defense. Gets an extra turn if an enemy's turn meter is decreased by this skill. So that's any enemy. So if you're having a hard time in Spider and those Spiderlings, like boom, done. He gets to go again. So then that gets him to this one, and you want to have it to be critical because if he's attacking an enemy and it's critical, has a 100% chance of placing 4 poisons on all enemies for 2 turns. Wild. This was really big, so even if on a boss, just turn this off, unless you need a decreased defense, and just go A2 to A1, you know, because you're basically guaranteed a decreased speed as long as it's critical. So there is that affinity uh, magic that happens, and he can weak hit, but if it's critical, he's tossing a decreased speed, and that's so good. So, he could be used in Chimera, could be used basically anywhere. Like even clan boss, just use these two skills and you're fine. Have a decreased speed in addition to more poisons. That's awesome. Um, again, if you're just starting off, accuracy and speed, and toss him on with some crit rate gloves. Just this way he gets those crits. Like right now he's muling, and that's fine for me. Um, Dude's got a lot of attack, so if you have the Arachno Elixir or the Arboration, that's fine. Just this really helps out in those long battles. So you could have a lot of fun there. Cardiel, uh, aside from me being the the model for this, like when I first got him, I felt like I was winning the game. Like this dude just carried a lot. Like the A2 is a clean sweep. He removes all debuffs, and then this was like the first protected thing that you could have in the game. And to have a revive on death, I thought, and it did help me out so much in content. Like, against Spider especially, in Doom Tower and all that. But then to have an ally attack, you know, sweet. Like he was like one of my first ally attackers I leaned heavy on. And then he was also healing everybody. Like there was just a boatload of heals, and the true fear when it pops up is great, awesome, cool. But I didn't like it didn't process it with me, so that's fine. And he also gets to team up on people. It's a 15%, 30% chance when booked. Like I no joke. Every every place I was able to, I definitely used them. So like uh, if you have them, great. And I have a journal of Nectros just to have more heals and then more turn meter. But I don't think he has any turn meter manipulation. So it's just the heals, and that's fine. We have Sun Wukong. Um, the big one with Sun Wukong is just the whole strip. You know, he's stealing all buffs. Like that's just really really big. And yeah, he's sheeping people and all that fun stuff. He's also potentially placing a stun, but really just the stripping of all buffs. This really helps out against like bosses and and Grim Forest, Curse City, like even in Faction Wars. Just really really good. And Frankie knows that I'm making a video and wants to make an appearance, right? Yeah, you do. So it's really good, and he comes back, man. Like that's ridiculous. So if you're having a hard time in Skinwalkers, and you have them, like definitely build them up. Just do a damage build. Like really, that's it, and you're set. And like I haven't used them in a while. I have them in a relentless just because I want the A3s and A2s to go back around a little bit quicker. Tholen is next. Was uh, was a fusion. Um, I didn't realize how good he was until Faction Wars. Like I ignored him. I left him dusty, and then I got a blessing on him, and I was like, oh, okay, great, cool. Uh, an AOE that just does a bunch of damage, man. Uh, it, to increase damage after him being critted is just ginormous, man. He does a lot of damage, and he has what is this? Like 7,000 uh attack, 203 speed, which is meh, but 353 like crit damage. Fantastic, man. Just does a shit ton of damage, and he's ignoring defense, and the A1 is an AoE, like, beautiful, and to potentially get an extra turn, awesome. Just give me more. Give me more. And then he also activates his A1 every 5 turns. So, like, let's go. Warlord, him and Kaimar being the old heads, like this was it. If you had a warlord that was going close to first, you basically won any PvP. Helps out a lot in any content just to freeze out the enemy. So have fun with that. Has basically like this is just used as like, all right, cool. I might as well be able to have some sustainability. But really, if you have a hard time in Doom Tower, toss in the A3 and just go nuts. You know, like when this procs, it's fine. But obviously, he's been power crept. There's other champions that do very similar things, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he got a buff, like in the future, just because dude's old and he's really useful. So whatever. Siffy, I only use her in Sand Devil these days, just because the sleep mechanic, but she tosses out a bunch of buffs out here that you could take advantage with protection. Try to get 9 pieces, and you're going nuts. I have her in Merciless, which runs counter to a lot of things, but I'm having her mule things, and uh, she's only in my Sand Devil just to sleep. But the reason why I bring her up is just to have all these buffs, the revive, you know, and I didn't realize the increased attack and crit rate, but to revive somebody with a full turn meter is great. Because whenever people get revived, if they don't have turn meter increase or anything like that, they're just sitting ducks. And to have that full turn meter, that doesn't mean they're going to go next. It means that they're in queue, and that's an awesome thing. So yeah, and there's a heal each ally by 10%. Just make her fast. Make her fast, make her resistant, um, tanky, and you're fine. She doesn't need crit rate or crit damage. You'll be okay. Kroz, I did the fusion. I got the frags. I pulled them, and there he sat. He sat and sat and sat. And then I used him recently in hard faction wars, and this is only for the bomb mechanic stuff here. Um, I didn't realize how good he was. Like I'm gonna own it. I thought this guy was cruddy. I was like, oh yeah, cheap man's Commodus, and he might be, but the big thing was everyone was focusing on these bombs, right? Uh, the big one was the block active skills, and it's for 2 turns. Like that is so huge. You're basically denying any active skills coming forward. So for that to happen on 2 turns, and we have a 3 turn cooldown when fully booked, that dude's a beast. And there's bombs, and then he fills his turn meter by a quarter for each enemy with a bomb debuff, so he could go again. Like that's nuts, man. So toss the bombs out there, have the A1s, and then come back around, and you may have the block active skills, because again, each hit has a 30% chance of decrease in detonation countdown of all bomb debuffs on the target. Apologies, I thought it was on everyone. My mistake. So you go A2 into the A3. So there you go. And then whenever a bomb blows up, then every ally gets a 5% boom. And I think that's really really good. Also has an instant turn effect. Like Kraz, again, when he came out, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go for him just because that's what I do. Any fusion I go for. And I didn't realize how good this guy is until I started playing with him. So if you have him, use them in hard faction wars, toss a stun set on him, toss a provoke on him, do whatever. But this guy definitely needs to get used. Like I am so smitten with him. It is ridiculous. I'm not bringing him into PvP because I have better champs um, that are better built, but I have him in Feral. He's kind of slow. I'm not using my best on him, but accuracy, speed, and then we know that bombs are based on attack, but you definitely want to get the crit rate and crit damage going because that A3, like this does hurt, you know? So it's really, really good, man. I think he's a really good champ that not a lot of people are talking about. And especially since we have Xenomorph and all these other new champs that are coming out, a lot of these champs get forgotten about. And I'm guilty of it. Like we get so hamstrung in the stuff that we have to do for the champs that really bring us elsewhere. But you you get reminded of champs that just really, really are awesome. So have fun with it. Xenomorph, a more recent champ, like I just like it just because we get the infest stuff. And infest, not to be confused with incest, we're not going there, but infest deals pure damage to the other live enemies. So it's kind of like that poison explosion that we would get in Diablo 2. Just nutty. I I I look forward to more infest being out there rather than just xenomorph because that is just a silly skill. And because of that, let's get in here. Use xenomorph. So I'm gonna be building her out on stream on Monday. Um, which is the fusion start day, by the way. But gonna be building her out. I'm I started using her, and I was like, okay, this works. But it just sucks that I can't bring it elsewhere. Like, it's okay, but it just it's also neat that she has her own revive too. So I I I like her. I have her in lethal dose just because I had ideation of bringing her in arena. But it's going to be really hard to do that with all the cleansing and stone skin and wand of submissions. So this may not be the best, but I may change this to nature's wrath more than anything else. And just I could crank out the attack, you know, the accuracy, crit rate, crit damage, all that fun stuff. But she's relatively weak, but still, she could be a lot of fun. And the last two are typically thought of as just like really, really shitty champs. And I'm guilty of it. I was totally calling them out. I was like, they suck. Uh, but I thought it was really cool, man. If you have Gerda and you have a Xenomorph, you have Kroz, you have shit, even Tomb Lord, you can make a team with that. And really, it's just to increase her turn meter. Or whenever an enemy receives a debuff, their turn meter is decreased by 3%. Like, you could really stem the tide if basically you're able to land those debuffs with her on the team. You know, I I, I think it's really really smooth. It's a mechanic that doesn't really get looked at too often. Just again because of Wand of Submission, because of Stone Skin, and really that's we're highlighting any debuff. Um, Poisons are huge because there's so many of them that come out there. So, and she's doing it herself. So like we're really pushing that back. I don't want to bring her in live arena if there is a Marius there, but if you have a Nell, um, yeah, you're gonna be basically having a bunch of poisons out there, so that decreases the turn meter. So you're really controlling the stem of the battle. And then she's also tossing out there a debuff spread, which more likely than not, everyone has it, but it's just neat to have yet another one out there. You know, I just think it's a really cool turn mechanic, and I want to start using her, because she could be kind of fun. I just don't know where I'm actually going to be doing that because I can't use her against bosses because that turn meter manipulation doesn't work. So okay, I would imagine, Grim Forest, Curse City, Doom Tower, yada yada yada, and we all have Xenomorph, so that's a decent that's a decent pairing. Last one, uh, Jinro, the Stork. You get him from Doom Tower. Uh, kind of a shitty champ, but then once you start playing against him, you kind of like pick up on it that he can be all right. So you're getting more defense, and it even though it resets, this could really build up. So if you build him up really, really slow, you know, uh, you have an instant turn. You have like a Shuzen do an instant turn on him. So this way he goes, tosses potentially a protected counterattack, and then yeah, just have him go nuts. Just have him in Stone Skin, have him go again with Shuzen, tosses in a protection, 9-piece protection. So this way he has a chance to have it being protected. You don't have to worry about resistance. And then you just have them counterattack, which it increases their cooldowns. So you basically have them screw themselves over. And I think that's a really neat mechanic that he has that doesn't really get utilized too much, just because it's so difficult to make that happen. You know, you could have him go first, have that counterattack on him, and then other people will follow, but there's no taunt. So like that gets really hard, right? Because here he's placing a provoke for 1 turn and all enemies under increased attack. Hey, awesome. So if there is an arbiter that goes before him, he's putting a provoke out there. Cool. Yay. But you have to have somebody go first to have an increased attack on them. Ugh. So it runs counter to what basically you want, right? You don't want them you don't want your other team to you don't want the enemy team to go first. You want to go first. So that's why he gets really kind of shitty. But I think if you could get him to work, that'd be really, really awesome. Just the amount of control you have in a match, just wild. And I haven't really touched him too much. Like he's still a 5-star level 15, but I think that he could be good. Uh, Definitely gonna try to have some fun with him. Champ training is done, so I missed my mark on there, but we have CVC coming up. That's personal rewards, and I don't know. I don't know. I like the off-beaten champs and try to make them work. So either way, this video has gone on too far. 13 champs, 13 legendaries that have been kind of forgotten about by me, and ones that I'm going to be working on and having some fun with. So try to catch me on stream. I'm on Twitch like 7 in the mornings, typically during the week. Sometimes on Saturdays, but never on Sundays. Uh, so yeah, try to catch me. Until then, we'll have some fun later.